today with another DIY for you, and today's DIY is going to be an autumn wreath. So today I've been out having a little forage in my local area. Now I live in London and I've managed to find loads of great stuff right on my doorstep to make this wreath with. I've got some conkers here, I've got all different colours of berries, I've got some bark, I've got some autumn leaves, and I've got some pumpkins as well. I've also got some Munchkin pumpkins that I bought at the supermarket. I didn't manage to forage those, unfortunately. So I'm going to be using all of these natural things to create a autumn wreath. And the great thing about this wreath is then once autumn's over, everything can just go on to compost and I will be left with my wreath base to create another wreath, maybe in time for Christmas. Before we get going with this DIY, if you're new here, don't forget to click subscribe for new videos every single week. And if you enjoy this DIY, please do give it a thumbs up. For the base, I'm going to be using one of these polystyrene half rings. These are solid polystyrene, and as you can see, it's kind of 3D and it just goes flat on the back, which is great for hanging it against a wall or the door. And you can pick these up in craft shops. I think this one came from Hobbycraft, but I actually picked it up at a charity sale. And the good thing about these I've mentioned is that you can reuse them, so you can pin things into them. A viewer told me that, so thanks very much for that tip. And then you can take everything off and use it again. Just got some brown paper here that I'm going to lay out underneath because we're going to be gluing. Do you like these scissors, by the way? £2 in Tiger, quite nice, aren't they? So I found this bark just amongst the leaves that had fallen onto the floor. So the trees have been shredding this, and I thought that this would be a really nice material to use to line the wreath base. So using the glue gun now, I'm just going to stick the bark pieces all over the wreath base. And because this bark's quite thin, it is moulding as I'm putting the hot glue on it. It's kind of helping it to bend and adhere to the wreath base. So that's the base done. As you can see, I've gone all the way around it and covered it in the bark. And when the glue went onto the bark, it did kind of help it to mould and bend. So you just need to hold each piece in place while the glue dries, but it does dry very quickly when you're using hot glue. I actually really like this, and I kind of want to leave it as it is, but we're going to make it a little bit more autumnal, as this is an autumn wreath DIY and I've committed now. But if you want to just do a bark wreath DIY, then you could stop there, and I think this would look really good. I think it would probably have been a good idea to have painted the polystyrene wreath first, maybe just a dark green or brown colour, so that any of the bits that show through don't show up as white, because you can see them peeping through the little gaps. But I think what I'm going to do before I continue is just go in there with a pen and hide all of those. I'm going to use these furniture touch-up markers to go in all of the little gaps where there's some white shining through, so I can just add some of the brown. I think that will just stop any of these white bits showing through. I do wish now that I'd painted the base before sticking the bark on, that would have made it a lot easier, but you learn as you go with these things, don't you? Now hopefully you can see okay that I've got loads of stuff here to choose from. So these are all things that I picked up in my local area. We've got, I think these are crab apples. I just went for anything that had nice pops of colours. We've got some yellows, some reds, really nice reds all the way through to ambers and greens with this. This is a bramble, so watch that one. And then these really nice reds as well. Now I thought the conkers might be quite tricky to attach, so what I'm going to do is attempt to glue nails onto the back of them so that I can poke them in straight onto the wreath. I think we're going to want to have them facing upwards like this, so I'm just going to turn it over and pop a blob of hot glue on the back, and then just hold the nail in place on that while that dries. Once that's looking like it's setting, I can pop it to one side to dry, and I'm going to do a few of those. do is take some of these stems of berries and just trim them down a bit and add on some florist wire just to secure them together so they're a bit easier to attach onto the wreath. So I've just got some pieces of florist wire like that. I'm just going to double that over. And I'll keep those bits to attach it with. You can always add a blob of hot glue on there as well if you want to make it extra secure. And I'm doing the same with these. I'm just going to take a few and try to group them together with some wire. And the conkers have now set. Those are quite strong, the nails on there, so they will be able to poke straight in and look really nice. So I've got everything wired up or nailed up and ready to go. There's one final thing that I want to add. I'm going to have to sacrifice one of these from my backdrop. But that's okay, it will be worth it. I think we need to add one of these Munchkin pumpkins into the mix as well, because I just think they look really cool. That will be like a nice piece to put on it to sort of kick off the rest of the berries and conkers and things. So I'm going to add a nail onto the back of this now. Same technique, so I'm just going to take a nail and put a blob of glue on the back. I don't know, I've kind of made up this technique of gluing a nail on the back. I think you can get like florist pins that might be better, but I didn't have any. So you know how it is with my DIYs, I just wangle it and get creative as I go along with whatever I've got lying around. So I'm sure there's plenty of professional wreath makers on YouTube if you want to see how the pros do it, but this is my technique and hopefully it'll work alright. Once it's kind of setting, you can just pop it to one side and let that finish off hardening, and then we can get on with decorating the rest of the wreath. Right, so I think I'm going to start with the pumpkin in the middle. I'm going to bring you a bit closer actually so you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, so I think it would be a good thing to start with the Munchkin pumpkin. We can kind of make that the centre piece. So let's find a little gap just about there. And I might add a bit of extra glue just on the back now, just to make sure that he stays on, because I think he's quite heavy. I don't know why I'm saying he, could be a she. There we go. And I'm going to build out from there to kind of create a kind of focal point on the wreath. Let's start with some leaves. I'm just going to glue these straight on. I'm not sure if that's a very good technique, because obviously it could damage the leaves a little bit, but I'm just going to give it a go and see what happens. We'll experiment together, hopefully it'll stay on. I really like the red colours of these ones. I'm going to go with another blob of glue on the back and across all the, just the starts of the leaves, just to make sure they all stay on, I think. Let's add that on there. Ow, these are really prickly, but I do like the colours of these. So let's add some of these into the mix. I really wanted to get some blackberries. They'd sell artificial blackberries on eBay. Where are you? Can you see me? So obviously the great thing about using real leaves is these are lying around on the floor and they're free. So now with the berries that I'd already wrapped together with the florist wire, I'm just going to add some hot glue on the back. Then I think I'm going to take the wires around the pumpkin just to make them extra secure. So I'm just going to shove that in as far as I can get it. Hold that flat. And then we'll just take the wires and wrap them behind the pumpkin. Do the same on the other side. Just trim that down a bit. So some hot glue on the back. The wires, keep those handy. We'll just shove it in again, hope for the best. And then with the conkers, I think I'm just going to add these in to kind of hold things in place a bit more. Let's put some hot glue on that as well. Obsessed with the hot glue, but I just want everything to really hold into place. I don't want things dropping off. This is great to hide the wires as well. And then I've got a few remaining conkers that I think I'm just going to go around and use to hide any little gaps where I didn't manage to make the bark join up. Okay, I think I am done. And of course you could lie something like this flat on your table and have it as a centerpiece and put some candles in the middle. So there we go. What do you think? I kind of went a bit crazy with the Conkers in the end, and I'm not sure whether that was the right thing to do. But I think it's kind of fun. I kind of like the bonkers Conkers surrounding it as well. And of course, you know, you can just be as creative as you like with this. You could continue all of this bit all the way around and make it really full on. And of course you could just do it really simple and just have the bark and maybe 1 or 2 items, or you could have the bark and just the Conkers, or you could even do a whole wreath and cover it in Conkers if you found loads of them. Just take the technique of hot gluing the nails on, and then you could poke them all in. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. I hope you like it as well, and hopefully that's given you some ideas to do a similar autumn wreath. And as I've mentioned, the great thing about this one is I could peel all of this stuff off and maybe even just keep the bark and then introduce some new things when it's Christmas time. So if you'd like to see a Christmas wreath, then do let me know and I will be sure to create another wreath for you in time for Christmas. And if you would like to see the wreath that I made last year, I will link that one down below. I made a Christmas wreath with a willow base that I kind of weaved myself, and then I added all sorts of things, again, that I'd found out and about, so everything was free. I don't think that one cost me anything to make, actually. And this one cost the pumpkin, which was £1 from the supermarket, and then just the wreath base and the glue itself. I'm not sure where to hang this. I could put it on the front door, I guess, or yeah, you could hang it indoors, wherever you like, really. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. And if you make a similar thing, I would love it if you tagged me in your pictures. I thought we could do a little hashtag, Mr. Carrington DIY, or just tag my Instagram handle, which is Mr. Carrington, Mr. the word, and then Carrington, or you could find me on Twitter as well. So I'll leave all of my social media links down below. So if you do make anything, I would love it if you tagged me or used the hashtag so I get to see them as well. And I'll share any ones that I see on my Instagram stories as well. So yeah, hopefully you'll be able to get creative and that's given you some ideas. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe. I'm posting new videos every single week. And if you enjoyed this DIY, please give it a thumbs up. A wreath thumbs up. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching and I will see you soon. Bye. Like that. Oops, definitely trickier doing it this way. Pumpkins, let's not go there. Right. This is where it all falls apart. So I couldn't be bothered to straighten up the camera because I'm really into this bit. It's the enjoyable part, so I just wanted to tell you that, but I thought you might want to see my face while I did. Probably don't care. Just sticking on the last couple of pumpkins, Conkers. I think I've lost the plot. We've been going for a while now.